I'm Nikki Nissen. I'm the Senior Director and Chief Nursing Officer for Novant Health Medical Group. And I want to tell you a little bit about my role in the medical group. I help lead clinical operations across our entire footprint. I'm also responsible for the patient-centered care team and our clinic resource services team. And so let me tell you about our footprint so you can understand the breadth of the work that we do. We are 554 clinics strong across 3 states, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. And in those 554 clinics, we have around 400 RNs, 1,100 medical assistants, and 400 LPNs. So about 1,900 clinical team members that assist our providers in delivering care on 4.7 million visits annually. So big breadth of work. So I want to talk to you today about my vision for those 1,900 clinical team members to have a more intentional nursing leadership structure. And so you might think, why is that important? Why should we be talking about that today? So I want to invite you to share a story with me, a story of a day in the life of a nurse in Novant Health Medical Group. So currently, this nurse comes to work. She's excited to be there to deliver remarkable care to the patients that she's going to see today. And she is greeted upon arrival by a voicemail from an upset parent who has received a letter about her son who has a congenital heart defect. This letter says that his flu vaccination potentially is viable, and this is during the worst season of flu that North Carolina has seen in quite some time. So needless to say, she's quite upset. Later in the day, this same nurse goes to disinfect some instruments in the high-level disinfection area and realizes that for 2 weeks, no one has recorded the temperature of the cleaning solution. And she knows that that's a big deal because that potentially means that we have patients who were impacted by dirty instruments. So she leaves that area to find her clinic administrator and explain the situation. And on her way to his office, she hears a noise, opens an exam room, and finds that a patient has fallen. So needless to say, this nurse is not having a good day. So what does that have to do with our current state? Currently, in Novant Health Medical Group, we use a dyad structure of leadership. And so we have physician leaders that partner with administrative leaders in each of those clinic sites to deliver the amazing care that we have for 4.7 million patient visits a year. In my discussions with other big medical groups, and thanks for setting that up for me, Andrea, Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, and Henry Ford Clinic all use a triad model of leadership. And so what that means is that they have physician partners, nursing partners, and administrative partners that lead the care that they deliver that makes them exceptional and makes them a household name. So my ask for today is to support me in the concept of putting an intentional nursing leadership structure in Novant Health Medical Group. And a little bit of detail about how I see that happening is really a partnership with our community medicine service line first. It's one of our biggest service lines. It's really kind of our biggest opportunity to impact patients. Partner with them, discuss this vision, pilot some nursing structures there, come up with some creative solutions that I have around billing annual wellness visits, anticoagulation, and some other nursing billing opportunities that we have to offset the cost of that leadership structure. Come together with some metrics to prove the value case for this leadership structure so we can spread it from there. So I think, once we have that in place, we'll have a new story. We'll have a story where a nurse can come in and those clinical problems that she saw will be gone. She can really focus on delivering innovative care in a value-based model. She'll be able to develop her professionalism with things like peer review and shared governance. And really take us to the next level. So I want to tell you that I have great passion for the care that we deliver to our patients in the medical group. I'm also passionate about supporting those 1,900 clinical team members and making sure that they have what they need daily to deliver on our promise. And so in closing, I want you to take 3 key outcomes that I expect. If we put this leadership structure in place in the next 5 years, we can expect to, number 1, have clinic administrators who can really focus on the business operations that they need to in their clinics. Number 2, we'll have physician leaders at those locations that aren't distracted by medical assistant workflow issues or competency issues with the clinical team. They can really focus on driving their physicians and APCs to understand the whys of healthcare. Why are we changing things again? The changes that we make on sometimes what feels like a daily basis. And number 3, we will have nursing leadership that will drive accountability so that we can find ourselves a household name that other people are presenting about. Novant Health Medical Group being known as a Mayo, a Cleveland Clinic, or a Henry Ford Clinic. So I appreciate your time today, and I'm open to any questions you might have about this vision. Thank you.
Questions for Nikki?
Nikki, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges we'll have to overcome to accomplish your vision?
I think our biggest challenge is the way we pay physicians and the impact that adding layers of cost to clinics, how that impacts physicians' pay, honestly. So I think that we have a lot of buy-in for something like this, but when it comes down to actually executing it, that's where we have a struggle. So I think that, that's my biggest challenge.
So in your vision of triad leadership, is it an RN that's in the mix of all of those? And I'm just asking the question, given the years in the medical group and understanding how nurse has not always been an RN in the offices. So what is your vision for who fills that third leg of the stool? Is it an RN?
I appreciate you calling that out. So I've been in this role for 3 years, and I have made it part of my core values is to honor all of the roles that we have in the medical group and really elevate our medical assistants and honor that there's 1,100 of them. They're extremely important and valuable. And to make sure that we don't call them nurses because they have a role and it's important and we need it and we honor them by calling them CMAs or medical assistants. So I would say that we currently have a variation. Right now we have some RN supervisors, we have some LPN leads, and we have some CMA leads. And that's not completely inappropriate. So let me focus. I think that RNs ultimately are going to give us the best bang for our buck when we talk about being able to help with competency, workflow issues. To counsel folks with licenses, you have to have a license. But that doesn't mean that every clinic needs an RN. So there's some sweet spot there of structure where potentially based on clinic size, maybe it's an RN that shares several clinics and they have a CMA lead in those clinics. That's kind of where I go back to community medicine as being just a right for something like this, to figure that out. What does that look like? To remove that distraction from physicians and ultimately, I mean, I just had a call yesterday about an $11,000 vaccine excursion, temperature excursion. Those happen, and we got to get rid of some of that foundational clinical operations issues or we're not going to become a household name. And we should be. For the size that we are and the number of providers that we have, we should be.
This is a different way of looking at things. Usually, like, healthcare is changing all the time, so our roles are changing from time to time. Is there any roles that would be discontinued to make this work? I mean, does it have to be a 100% more cost, or is there another way of looking at this?
That's a great question. So I think that there are good ways to think about that differently. And so some of the work that I've done with our community medicine service lines is to add RNs completing annual wellness visits for our Medicare patients. Not as a requirement, we're not going to take that away from our physicians who still enjoy doing that, but that's a way to expand the role of an RN, so to think about doing things differently. So some of the places like Cleveland Clinic, they have RN clinics within big clinics, you know, so those nurses maybe in pediatrics manage the ADHD patients who are stable. And they handle those visits. I mean, when we really think about going to a value-based world, it can't just be all what's billable, right? And so, but we're kind of in the canoe, one foot in each canoe right now trying to figure it out. So there are going to be some changes, but all of this wouldn't add a lot, all cost. It would be some different value there. And then we also have some probably layers of other teams that they would change over time if we had a structure like this in place. We would need less of those teams because the services will be delivered at the clinic level.
Any other questions?
I feel like I've watched you grow so much, and your role grow so much over the years that you've been, how, is it 4 years now? 3 years.
3.5.
Feels like 4. I love that your ask was to support me in creating the structure of nursing governance in the medical group, and knowing where you started and how far the presence of nursing in the medical group has come and developed under you and grown is huge. So I just wanted to say that. I like the invitation to live a day in the life of a Novant Health Medical Group nurse and how you painted that I'm going, and I was just waiting for the next door to open and something, have a flood and, you know, all the other fun things that we find in the medical group that happens. So you really had me there. I like how you define the future and the role of the clinical administration, the physician leader, and the nursing leadership driving accountability, and the development of the triad, and have me visualizing that stool. I also liked how you showed the regard and respect for every role in the group, and you do that all the time. I love your energy and your passion and your enthusiasm. You had a good presence and command of the room, so nicely done. I want to be part of that vision.
Great feedback. So let's move into what do you think of the vision? If you have comments there, things you did well, suggestions for next time, any of those. So thank you.
I like that you set the scale early on, and how big the energy and how big the task this could be. But then you also said you can scale it down and start with pilot, so I thought that was pretty good. And then maybe just slow down just a little bit, because you had a lot to say, and you want to get it all out.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Thank you.
Nikki, I agree with you. You really, I thought you painted the picture very clearly, which was really helpful in the presentation. I also thought it's certainly very compelling, and it's clear that you put a lot of thought into it. So you were very at ease answering the questions, which is great, because you kind of want to present at a level that conveys the information very clearly to people who may not have understanding or knowledge of it, but then really be the subject matter expert when people do ask specific questions. I thought you did that beautifully. And just having watched you present before, I think sort of like Denise, this was just remarkable. It was just wonderful. It was a wonderful presentation. You did a great job. You seemed so comfortable and poised. And I think like Mark, just a slower on the pace, and you have it nailed. It was a great job.
Other thoughts?
So my comments is I echo what Mark and Andy had to say about it. So more the style points, confident pose. Your poise around. Here's what I need to talk with you about today. Here are the aspects, and here's the impact. So I really liked how you could talk about from the clinic administrative standpoint to refocus their attention to the business aspects. For the physician leaders, more of the clinical care modeling and how it can drive really the diagnostic care, and then nursing leadership, structural alignment around that. So those pieces really stuck with me. And also the communication around the stories and the impact, how it looks today and how it can look tomorrow with a small change. And so appreciate that.
I love that you had a strong, compelling vision. I like that you had the vision for the patients, the team members, and the organization, because I think as leaders, we have to have all those stakeholders and think about all of them, so great job.
Yeah, I like the specific call out of expected outcomes. You were very clear in your summary about what the outcomes we can expect would be. So I liked using that language specifically.
Great job.